I'd like to welcome everybody to the town board meeting, regular town board meeting for February 24th, February 24th, and then a public hearing on a local law for February 24th. I'd ask everybody to please turn off all cell phones and electronic devices. Assisted listening devices are available for the hearing impaired. And I'll ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd also like to ask for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you very much. We're going to start off with our public hearing, local law. Donna, you want to read the?
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the town of Lewiston, Niagara County, New York on the 25th day of February 2020, commencing at 6 p.m. at the Town Hall, 1375 Ridge Road, Lewiston, New York, on the amendment of the Code of the Town of Lewiston, Chapter 270, to include a new article, Article 10, Sewer Remediation Dedicated Fund. Said article would establish the creation of the Town of Lewiston Sewer Remediation Dedicated Fund, which shall dedicate funds for use on inflow and infiltration reduction projects. Prior to the establishment of any new connection to the town sewer system, applicants who propose or construct a sewer extension designed to serve more than one sewer connection and or intended to convey 2,500 gallons per day or more of residential sewage shall commit to projects for use on inflow and infiltration reduction and pay into the Town of Lewiston Remediation Dedicated Fund. The complete text of said law is on file at the town clerk's office and is available for review by any interested person during normal hours. At such public hearing, all persons interested who wish to be heard will be heard by order of the town board.
Thank you, Donna. I have to apologize, there's no sign-in sheet, so I'll just ask if anybody would like to speak on this matter.
Move to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you. Now moving on to our regular town board meeting. I need an agenda approval. I have to add one thing to the agenda. It'll be at the top of the agenda. We have Greg Stevens from the Greenway Commission that's here and wants to put on a presentation.
I have two items for the police department, a resignation and a new hire to replace that individual.
I just have a correction, still with Councilman Morial. We wish him well for a liaison report here.
Okay.
I thought maybe they'd try to recount.
Oh.
What was that? Steve, I want to add, I just want to make mention of some information I'm getting about possible grants, but it's a real long shot.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll start with resident statements real quick. Did anybody want to speak for resident statements? No? Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Greenway Commissioner Greg Stevens, who wants to do a presentation on the Lower Niagara Shoreline Trail connectivity study. Greg, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Is it okay if I turn off these couple of lights?
Couple.
Is that good?
Beautiful.
Sure, yeah, perfect.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Supervisor. I'm running the Niagara River Greenway Commission. I'll give you a quick catch-up on the status of the Greenway Commission. But we're here tonight because we've kicked off a study of the last great section of what will be the Niagara River Greenway system. And that is the section from the village of Lewiston to Lake Ontario, which is right here in your home. We've made tremendous progress on the Greenway in the last 5 years. getting it connected all the way from Lackawanna, across Grand Island, around through Wheatfield, through Niagara Falls, and down the escarpment into the village of Lewiston. And that is, we're very excited about that. It connects to the Erie Canal Trail. It connects to Fort Erie across the Peace Bridge. It's got a lot more connectivity than we've ever had in our communities. And we believe that the greatest part of the whole Greenway system could be the lower Niagara, because it's a spectacular ecological area, as the lovely villages of Lewiston and Youngstown. And so we're very purposely, we're doing something we've never done before. We're stopping here and doing a significant outreach to the communities to find out what your vision of this might be. So we want to explain what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, and then in the coming couple of months, we're going to have a number of public engagements which are going to give everyone in the community the chance to participate, to comment, and provide their ideas. So we want your suggestions as to what the best way is to do that. And we're opening up a website to collect comments from anybody that wants to participate. So we're here just to let you know this is coming and to get your advice as community leaders on how we should do this most effectively. So, okay. So the vision of the Niagara River Greenway is to connect all of our communities to the waterfront. You know that we are funded by relicensing proceeds from the Niagara Power Authority. And the purpose of that funding is to restore the Niagara River shoreline and give that real estate back to the communities. That real estate was used, as you know, for transportation purposes, for industrial purposes, for all kinds of projects. And a lot of it has now been freed up, and so we want to repurpose that in a way which is most valuable to the community, connect it all with a trail and with green space and parks and water connections, and then think about what it could look like in the future. So it's a very big and bold project. We've been at it for 12 years. We've got 38 years left. Those are 38 years that are fully funded for this development. So there's a lot that we have the capability to do. This is, as you'll recognize, is looking back at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls. 3 months ago, that was a highway, and there was no public access to the waterfront itself, maybe a limited footpath. And by the end of this summer, it'll look like this. And this is a spectacular greenway system right on the water with biking, walking, and the neighborhoods can now cross and get to the waterfront. And this is going to encourage the tourists to extend their activities along the Niagara River. We think come up to Whirlpool, come up to Devil's Hole, and so this is just a really good look at the kind of thing we're trying to build wherever we can. So the Greenway has 4 priorities. The first is connectivity and trails, which is what we're talking about. The second is to improve the riparian, which is the shoreline habitat, to clean up the ecology of the shoreline itself. Get communities engaged, make sure that we understand their vision for what they want to do with their green spaces and waterfront, and then wherever possible promote to create resources for tourism which pull them into our communities so that the economic impact of the tourist is felt in some of our smaller and more out-of-the-way places where they haven't been connected. So trails are a way of connecting that tourism experience into some of our really wonderful local communities for those who want it. So in Lewiston, the village, we're working closely with the Center Street business community, 13 businesses there, and they've said, yes, please slow down traffic on Center Street, give us a bicycle lane up and down, turn this into a village center street so that people want to come sit here and enjoy their afternoon, and it becomes a stopping place for both tourists and the community. So, Dave and I were talking a minute ago about the role that the DOT plays in this. GBNRTC is our metropolitan planning organization. One of the things that the Greenway has is fortunate. We have 6 major state agencies sitting on our commission, and we're able to coordinate some of their resources to accomplish things like this. So we're not doing it all by ourselves. We work closely with Parks and DOT and DEC and the state planning organizations. So the Empire State Trail has now come from Manhattan to Montreal, across the Erie Canal to Tonawondas, and with our Shoreline Greenway Trail, we connected to Canada at the Rainbow Bridge and at the Peace Bridge. And so we have a major new connectivity that I'll show you in just a minute that's connecting to this whole system. So the emphasis is on creating regional connections for communities that up to now have been isolated from this kind of resource. So this is the Empire State Trail. The governor announced it 2 years ago. It's been built at really incredible speed, $200 million investment connecting Manhattan to Montreal, and then across the Erie Canal Trail to Tonawanda. And then the little blue piece on the left is our Niagara River Shoreline Trail. And we have dreams of connecting it to the south so that this will go to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Chicago. But this, as it stands, is the longest continuous multi-use trail in the country. And word about it is it's not even done yet, and people all over the world are getting very excited about coming to see it. And they're forecasting 8.6 million cyclists a year coming to ride this, because where else in the world can you go and ride from Manhattan to Niagara Falls? Everybody that comes wants to see Niagara Falls, everybody wants to see Manhattan, and not a lot of people are going to ride from one to the other, but there's a lot of choices in between. So, as I said, we have for 12 years been building a system from Lackawanna through Buffalo, across Grand Island, around through Wheatfield. That piece is not done yet, but it's funded. We showed you some of the infrastructure around Niagara Falls itself. If you've seen that steel railing on the side of the Scenic Parkway coming down the escarpment into the village, that brings us right to the center of the village of Lewiston. And now the big oval up there is we're saying what's next? What's the right thing to do in that space? Is it and there are many, many choices, and I just want to give you a flavor of some of the things we're thinking about. So this area is a treasure. It's full of parks and green spaces and waterfront. It's a great recreational resource. This map lays it out. You're very familiar with it, but the village, the town of Porter, the village of Youngstown, 4 major state parks in that real estate, and so we've so far brought our trail down the escarpment, snuck it into Lewiston at the Art Park entrance, and run it a little way down 9th Street. And this is where we're stopping with a big question mark of what makes sense. Where should we go from here? What does the community really want? We don't have any plan. Well, I should not say that. In 2007, there was a Greenway plan that was developed, and when we got up here, they just drew a line down Lower River Road and said, there you go, we'll ride our bikes down there and we'll get to Fort Niagara. But that, we're saying that doesn't have to be the plan. We want to come up with what is really the best solution for the community and for the overall network. So that's our study area, and we're now engaged, as I said, for the next 6 weeks in a series of public meetings. The next one is March 2nd at your senior center at 6 o'clock, and we've got some press out. We've got notices. If you have any other ways of publicizing that to your community, please do so. They're all welcome there. And we're going to lay this out in some detail and then get everybody's feedback and input.
Greg,
and
I got to interrupt you. You got 6:30 on the press release, so it's, I believe it's 6:30,
Oh, okay.
not
Okay,
6
thank you.
PM. So March 2nd at 6:30, just, you know.
That's correct. So the process looks at what's here now, what has been built so far, what are logical places for a trail or a connection, what are the destinations that people are gonna wanna go to, a coffee shop, a pub, a B&B, the waterfront, an ice cream cone, conservation natural areas. You've got a lot of potential there to enhance some of the green space in this area. How the parks fit in with the community, how that impacts traffic. So big picture, we've hired a team of consultants who figure all that stuff out. But the first step is to ask the community what they're looking for. In the village of Lewiston, they've gotten very excited about art. They want to use art as the way that they delineate the trail. So more public art instead of signs. Greenway's really big on signs. We love signs. And they're saying, we don't need any more signs. We've got a lot of signs in the village of Lewiston. How about some art? And we'll use that. So it's a really interesting idea. So we're collecting examples of other trails that have been built with art instead of signs as the way of identifying the trail, and it's, who knew, it's pretty neat. So those kinds of things are things we can pick up with and work on. There's a big part of this is interpretation and education. So in Tonawanda, their big thing was, they're very proud of their history in Tonawanda, Lumber City and the Erie Canal history, and so they really wanted to theme theirs in a canal historical setting, and then have a lot of education and information about, you know, how that all worked and what the remaining legacy is. So that was the theme there. So themes like that are very interesting. We can sort of gel the placemaking. These are fancy words that consultants teach us. The placemaking around a theme can be really effective. And art in Lewiston with Art Park next door, that makes a lot of sense, so everybody's getting excited about that. So this is just it's a plan, it's a vision. This doesn't lead to a project, a budget. We're not going as far as saying, here's exactly what we're gonna do and this is how much it's gonna cost. This is a sort of a guiding picture for the communities, and over time, you know, we'll fit the pieces in as budget becomes available. As I said, the Greenway gets funded every year, DOT gets a budget every year, and so what we want to do is look 10 years out and say, how would we like this to evolve? And then find out what highway projects Dave has planned, and you know, where we can tie those things together and over time build you know, a future that works towards the vision. That's great. So it's a little fuzzy, but it's an opportunity to really think about where are we going. So Art Park, as you know, has just been through a huge study about what the future is of Art Park, and the major conclusions are that they want to connect Art Park much more strongly to the village. So it's not isolated, but it begins to feel more like a part of Lewiston. And they want to go back to being a participatory art place where people come to make art, people come to see art being made. It's not just a Tuesday night concert place. So back sort of to its roots. And there's some really interesting ideas about connecting Art Park to the overall trail system. So you ride down the escarpment into Art Park and then into the village, and there'd be a loop through Art Park and the village. So that's a project. The Empire State Trail, the trail down into the village of Lewiston are all, you know, new things that we haven't seen the impact of yet. But those are going to be great resources for the community. So when we think about trails, it's more than just a place to ride a bike or go for a walk. Trails are New York, the big campaign in New York now, the lieutenant governor, if you hear her speak, she's super excited about active recreation. She wants to provide opportunities for people to get outside and get healthy exercise, to walk, to boat, to swim. So she's big on the canal and the trails and the parks, and that's, I think, a big part of what New York's going to be promoting for tourism as well. So I talked about this whole placemaking idea, but it's a combination of some of these themes. And when you think about your town here, you have a lot of these components with fabulous open spaces and some interesting geography, some parks, some waterfront, and how do you want to mix those together going forward? That's what we're listening for. So that's 6:30, right? So that's the next step, and we hope you will all come and encourage others to come along. Any questions or advice, or I know we don't have much time. So.
Yeah, I think the question and answers will be Monday.
Right, 6:30, I think that's
The avenue you and I talked about.
Yep.
So I know you want to make the presentation board. I need the board.
Greg, if we put this on the marquee in front of the senior center, can we say bike path instead of this whole long title?
It's more, it's more than a bike path, as you just saw here. So let's think about
Greenway
that,
meeting,
yeah.
Greenway
Yeah.
Trail.
I
Greenway
had
Trail.
something. Real quick. Just, I know that you mentioned the existing route that's already from the village into Youngstown on River Road.
Correct.
Just to, that path is not supposed to be used currently, it's not set up to be used for bikes.
The sidewalk.
Right.
And when you say path, correct. Yeah, that is.
So it'd have to be something, you're talking about something in the roadway,
Well,
or like an extra shoulder or something?
something that does not now exist.
Okay.
In order for that
I
to
just wanted to
be-
clarify
yeah,
that. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, it is, but you're right, that sidewalk would be dangerous to put bikes on that
Right.
sidewalk, and so we're not encouraging that. We're looking for something else,
Because as it's set up now, it's not too safe for bikes either,
that's right.
space-wise.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So therein lies that's one of many reasons that causes us to stop and say, what do we do next? Let's really think about this. So, anybody that's interested in participating, or we'd love to hear from you.
6:30 Monday at the Senior Center. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay.
Steve, when you figure out what you'd like to put on that marquee, Mike dash
Yeah.
does it.
Okay. Okay, moving along, department head statements. Donna, we'll start with you.
I put in your packet a picture of a lovely cage that I would like the town board to declare,
Access.
declare dog cage as surplus and of no value, and give me permission to dispose of it.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anything else?
That's it.
Chief?
I'm on the agenda unless you wanted to, I don't know if somebody else wanted to bring up the letter at this point, or just add that to somebody else's agenda. Otherwise, I'm on Mr. Bax's agenda.
Okay, we'll wait. Okay. Tim, anything? Nothing? Jackie, you're on the agenda. Bill Conrad? Anything? Brian, do you have anything?
Are we gonna vote on the local law?
Yeah, we'll do that under legal. We'll do that under legal if you have anything else.
Okay.
Bob, you're on the agenda. Jeff Ritter, anything? Dan Zano, water? Mike Dashnow, anything? I'm assuming Dave Train doesn't have anything. He scooted out, so, okay. Mrs. Maggard, anything on your end? No? Thank you very much. Approval of meeting minutes.
Move for approval as presented for the February 10th, 2020 work session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Audit payment.
I move that we approve the regular abstract total of 107 vouchers in the amount of $181,371.57, plus a post audit of 37 vouchers in the amount of $31,458.09.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Under old business, the 2018 water system improvement project, there's been no changes on that. We're still analyzing the payment options for the water system improvement project,
Steve,
so.
could I enter
Yeah.
my little thing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was forwarded some information on money that was released by the state government, and it came out in December. My research suggests that it's either gone or not applicable. But I've gotten a call in, and they're forwarding me something from the Association of Towns.
Okay.
And I should get that. I'll certainly have it by next meeting. As soon as I get it, I'll show it to you and see what, if there's anything that we could get Connie working on for us.
Okay.
I don't hold out a lot of hope, but it's worth pursuing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We have no business pending. New business, residents, public correspondence. Donna, anything? No? My liaison report, legal.
Yes, the first matter would be the local law that we had our public hearing on. Any questions on that or before we vote on it?
Want a motion?
Yeah.
Move for approval as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the issue? No questions? All in favor?
Roll call vote.
Oh, roll call vote. I'm sorry, Donna?
Councilman Bax?
Aye.
Councilman Guyban?
Aye.
Councilman Jacoby?
Aye.
Councilman Myers?
Aye.
And Supervisor Broderick?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Anything else, Brian?
That's all.
Okay. Engineering, Bob?
The only thing I would ask the permission, concurrence from the board, is to re-advertise the electrical bids for the police personnel.
So what we've done is we looked at the bids the last time. We tried to come up with new specs, change the specs a little bit, and we're hoping for a better outcome on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions?
Just a quick
Yep.
question. Bob, you worked on the sort of revamping of the specs.
Firm bid, yes.
And it seemed like we're gonna be able to
That's our.
keep our fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Anything else, Bob?
No, that's it.
Jeff, or,
Finance, I'm sorry.
I have 3 budget revisions all from 2019. There's been in front of you in your board packages.
May I make a motion for approval? Steve?
Yeah.
Move for approval as presented. They had an opportunity, they were in our packet to review them.
Second.
we have a motion is second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Anything else? Okay. Councilman Bax, liaison report.
I've got a request for a sewer adjustment for 452 Fuller Place. This is from a John Kerber. Apparently he has installed an in-ground pool, and he was looking for a credit in the amount of $68.87. I believe this meets with our current policy.
Second discussion.
Go ahead.
Jeff, if we give the credit now, all right, and they have an issue down the way that they want to empty and refill,
It depends on the issue.
so they can
That's
get
the way we've been looking at it.
more than once.
If there's a liner replaced, or if it's an in-ground pool, and they wanna work on the concrete, we have been, for the past several years, allowed that to go. But this is a new pool, and you have to have a permit for it, and so that's definitely within the.
Because I thought we turned down that one that wanted to regrind their pool.
It depends on what it is. If it's somebody trying to do something that's trying to make their backyard look better, okay, then it doesn't fit. But if they have to do pool liner or a repair, we've been letting that go.
It's part of our, it's part of the agreement that we have with the other municipalities and that we share sewer services with. It's laid out what the allowable regions are and which not.
Good. Okay, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And then we also have a municipal snow and ice agreement. Make a motion to authorize the supervisor to execute.
Second.
Motion is in a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So
Next,
moved.
I have a resignation from the town police department. This is from Mitchell Pagan. I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to serve and protect the community of Lewiston. It has been an honor working for the Lewiston Police Department, and I will always consider this the roots and foundation of my law enforcement career. I am formally resigning from my position as a police officer with the Lewiston Police Department due to the fact that I've accepted a full-time position with the City of Lockport Police Department. My final day with the Lewiston Police Department will be March 3rd, 2020. Once again, thank you and best of luck to all of the officers I have served alongside for the last year. So I'd make a motion to accept with regret the resignation of Mitchell Pagan effective March 3rd, 2020.
I'll second that and say congratulations to the young man.
That's
getting
right.
a full-time position.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And lastly, I have a request to fill Mr. Pagan's position with an individual that the chief has interviewed and is recommending, William Varney, and ask that he be hired part-time as per the union contract effective March 3rd, 2020.
Second.
With a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
That's all I've got.
Carried. Do you want to talk, do you want to do the,
Oh, sure I can.
one more police issue?
And my understanding is that Captain Josh Kane has 5 days of vacation time that have extended beyond, I believe, the original deadline of March 31st, 2020. He's asking that 5 days be extended for purposes of effectuating his own vacation in April. And I would make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions?
This doesn't set any sort of precedent, does it?
No, I don't believe so. I talked with
No,
Brian.
and if I could just add, it's odd, and maybe we should have a discussion about it down the road. It's odd how our anniversary works, so he gets his anniversary date is in November.
And that's when he accrues his vacation time.
Right, so he gets the extra,
Oh.
but then the town makes him use it by March.
Yeah.
So they turn around and use it right away, so it depends on where your anniversary is. Some of them have an anniversary that's like a month, within a month.
Yeah.
They get their anniversary, and then the deadline comes up, so maybe we could visit that down the road.
Yeah, it makes sense. I would imagine
Yeah.
that maybe give them the end of the following year.
Yeah, I think we've done this, that's why we gave a quarter, and it's another 3 months.
I see what you're saying, so you gave 3 months after.
Yeah, so he has 3 months. This is one where he didn't realize that
That it was expired.
that he got it, so he just wanted to extend it 1 month. So I don't have an issue with it. I talked with Brian. He says it's not really an issue, so, and I don't think we're setting a precedent.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Councilman Giben.
No liaison report.
Okay. Councilman Jacoby.
We've got a big fat one. Hopefully it.
What'd you call me?
This is we're doing a co-location on the existing communications tower on Calkins Road. And a pretty extensive packet here. There were some minor irregularities, and Mr. Seaman, will you address that?
Sure, so our tower law doesn't differentiate between a new tower and a co-location. And the result is that a lot of the criteria that you really wanna look at when a new tower is gonna be put into town is being, at least by the code, is applied to a co-location, which is just putting another antenna on an existing tower. There's federal regulations on that basically say that the town, we're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to overly burden cell service. We can ask for some things, for example, we wanna know whether or not they're increasing the height of the tower, anything having to do with, extending the footprint. But we're not allowed to overburden them in the application process. So, I know there's been some back and forth between Tom Seaman and the lawyers for the cell company, and their position was that even this was overburdening them. We said, well, wait a second, you can't just give us nothing. So, through some talking with them, I think we reached the point where we got as much as we can get under the federal regulations, and it's not everything that's listed in our law. It's probably another instance where we need to revisit that law and maybe bring it into conformance in some points with the federal regulations.
Yeah, that's, so, it makes sense to me, and I think it does to everyone up here. What should be our first step? I know that the environmental, recommended a negative deck.
That would be the
Bill?
first step, yeah.
Planning,
Same thing.
negative deck, so we should vote yes or no for a negative deck.
Right, you should address the secra resolution and vote negative declaration, no substantial environmental impact by adding an antenna to the system.
I move what he said.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And then there's the next thing,
The second would be a resolution to approve the application and allow the addition of the co-location.
I make that, motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Is there anything for me to sign? Do we have to prove anything for me to sign? I know that's usually the third thing that goes in there, second or third thing.
Tim, do you issue a permit at that point? Tim will issue the building permit based on your.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, you just have to initial this sheet.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Jacoby, anything else?
No, I think, that's kind of a wrap.
Okay, Councilman Myers.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Resident statements. Again, there was nobody signed up on the sign-up sheet. Anybody like to speak? Okay. Upcoming boards, commission meetings, town board work session on March the 9th at 6 p.m. Historic Preservation, March 10th at 6 p.m. Environmental Commission, March 10th at 7 p.m. Zoning Board of Appeals, March 12th at 6:30 p.m. Planning Board, March 19th at 6:30 p.m. Like to make a motion for adjournment?
Could we add one, please?
Yeah, sure.
The bicentennial will be meeting February 26th at the Historic Museum in the village.
What time?
6:30.
6:30.
Right, Donna? 6:30? John,
Yes,
wherever you are down there, are you going to be able to attend?
yeah, I will be going for sure. I was, I don't think we had a quorum last time, did we? No. It's, as the weather gets better, we'll get more people.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight.